All right. So this
We're
is the
on.
first podcast with BTC Log, also known as Jack, and Casey, also known as the Tussanite Crypto on Twitter.
Yes, that is my name. We're mainly going to focus on scarcity. Now,
Yes.
Casey, would you like to elaborate on just quickly, maybe just maybe say how you started getting into BTC, maybe or something? Just a little
Yeah, I think
introduction.
that's a good start, actually. I started uh, thinking about cryptocurrency and learning about it when I was roughly 14 or 15. And during that time,
What
I never
year
actually,
was that?
that was 2013, 2014.
There you
So,
go.
um, so I never actually purchased any, just didn't have the access to it, nor really thought it was worth anything at the time. And it wasn't
Yes.
until obviously 2017 when everyone else got truly interested in it that I came back to it. And then in 2020, I finally entered the market once I had the opportunity to do so. And ever since, I've just been enthusiastically reading and learning about it. What about you,
Yes.
Jack?
Very interestingly, I've heard the first time I heard about BTC was about 2014 from this gentleman right here. And I remember he told me that there was a man who got his hard drive wiped and he lost all of his Bitcoin. And I thought, wow, that is completely ridiculous. Who the fuck cares? So,
Tragedy.
but but yes, that was for some reason that it was inscripted in my mind as the first time I've heard about this weird thing and like all about mining and stuff. I thought it was like this weird program. I don't know, but
Hmm.
that was the
And tell us
first time
about how you
hearing.
got into mining too.
Oh yes. And so originally, I then a couple years passed, didn't really buy, didn't really do anything. Um, and around 2016, one of my buddies from high school showed me it, and I think the price range is a little bit under $1,000.
Uh huh.
And I remember him telling me about it. I'm like, wow, this is really interesting. Like I remember you telling me about this, and I was like, wow. So I go home and I just research after YouTube video of just learning about, and it originally started with mining, and I had a nice rig, a couple graphics cards, Antminer
The
S9,
classic.
Antminer L3 Plus. Completely irresponsible decision as a 16-year-old to purchase that because of the electricity costs.
Yeah, it wasn't
Completely
even your own.
irresponsible. It wasn't even my own electricity. So really, I mean, that is a large learning point that I had was wow. I mean, mining is just not. I mean, mining is great and all, but in a personal level, I really don't think that an individual can sustainably do it.
Yeah,
So
think about how interesting it is that you got to experience mining on a personal level when that's really never ever going to be a thing ever again.
yeah, it's very interesting because it gives me a sense of security because I literally did that. Like I was mining. Like I understood what the how BTC was created.
Yeah,
So I
you
mean,
participated
uh,
in that.
yeah. So I have it's like a personal like understanding and a real life understanding of how this works. You have to like link up, the server bullshit, and you have to do a ton of shit. But I fucking did it. But eventually I sold. I think I sold my S9 for double my money, and then I think I sold the L3 for a loss of about $1,500. But pretty pretty neutral, pretty neutral at the end. But I kind of see it as just kind of like a learning point.
Yeah,
And then
absolutely.
2007, and then 2017 happened. I didn't sell anything except for a little bit of Ripple because I was a kid. I had some Ripple. I thought it was
Of
cool. Whatever. I
course.
sold it. And that's the only thing
Yes.
I've sold, and I've been holding Bitcoin ever since and accumulating ever since. So that is the history of how we got here.
Right. And so I think that's also a good segue talking about the mining and stuff and scarcity. So I believe we're somewhere around 2.5 million coins left to mine. Um,
Right. I think we're at about 18 and a half. I recently remember seeing on Twitter 18 and a half was a big
Ah,
milestone. And
interesting.
to really think about it, I mean, to get to 18.5 million to 19 million, I mean, I don't know the math on that, but I mean, it's quite a ways away. Like it really is.
Yeah, no,
Actually, I'm not sure, but
yeah,
it's
it's much
definitely
longer
something
than
like
the first, even 10 million. So, um, yeah, the mining is just getting slower. It's getting less profitable. And yeah, like I was saying, you're probably one of the few people who will ever experience personal mining, just because
yeah,
when it was even possible, there were so few people even in Bitcoin. You know,
yeah. And I mean, the reason I mean it was so I, I didn't understand back in the day that like the reason I was getting so much profits from these miners was because the price was skyrocketing, and
yeah,
I
yes,
didn't understand that that wouldn't be sustainable. So, I got out of it, but now I love BTC. I love accumulating. That's the important part. So,
right,
so yeah.
yes. Um, so let's talk about that a little bit about why particularly Bitcoin is the quote unquote end all be all cryptocurrency. What about the limited supply? What about that makes it unique and special?
I mean, I'll give a quick answer and then I'll let you take it away. But wait, repeat the question again. Sorry, I got distracted. Why is it
Uh,
important? Is that what you
yeah,
said?
why is the scarcity? What does that create
Well,
that's unique about
I mean,
Bitcoin?
scarce assets just like gold are inherently valuable just because of their scarcity.
Hmm.
So, and I mean, the main part of BTC's scarcity, or one of the main parts, is that it's the only asset with a fixed cap, and I
Right.
think that's a very unique part of it because I I can't think of another asset, maybe another random altcoin or some shitcoin, but other than that, I really can't think any other asset
Right. Like
that's a hard cap.
a lot of people's example of another hard capped asset is another cryptocurrency. And really, to compare Bitcoin to another cryptocurrency is difficult because, if you want to talk about like being that unique first, cryptocurrency that people invested into, that holds a lot of weight. And so, just because other cryptocurrencies are scarce, it doesn't necessarily hold the same weight that Bitcoin scarcity does, simply because those first minted Bitcoins were some of the first minted cryptocurrencies in the world. And I think that holds a lot of weight, just being the first cryptocurrencies, because
Yeah. So going off of that, so what would you say? So your argument is um, it's Bitcoin is special because it's the first one. Um,
essentially,
Now,
yes.
other people have argued that, oh, well, I mean, MySpace was the first social media. So how come, so what do you say to people who tell you that, oh, there's something that could be like Bitcoin and do
Well,
it even better?
that analogy is based off of the assumption that there's an improvement to be made to Bitcoin. Um, and
I like that.
realistically,
Yeah.
Bitcoin satisfies all the necessary elements to maintain the status of the main store value for all eternity. I mean, there's really no, unless there's some sort of, uh, you know, new paradigm other than the internet that people are connecting with, which I don't foresee happening ever, or at least not within our lifetimes. Unless that happens, Bitcoin's going to be the the asset to have, and that you can't change that just by improving upon it. I mean, you look at Ethereum. Technically, Ethereum it has more use cases. It's a bit more dynamic in terms like that, but That doesn't make it more valuable than Bitcoin because Bitcoin was the first cryptocurrency. It
Exactly.
just, you
And
can't use
to
improvement like that.
yes. And I mean to make a cryptocurrency now to compete with Bitcoin, I mean you're competing against a $300 billion market cap, so that's the first step. You're also competing against absolutely zero marketing, which is how Bitcoin was, they didn't spend any money on marketing. If anything, it was fundraised. Um, but absolutely no marketing. And so like how would you recreate that? Like it's it's gonna be very difficult. If anything, it's impossible to recreate something like that when it's already had 12 years of history and it's the first of its kind. So I mean, I really don't see how anything could take
Yeah.
that number one spot
Hmm.
when Bitcoin is so far ahead of the others.
Right. And I think there's a lot to be said for if Bitcoin goes down in any significant value, there are people there to buy it when it does. And
Exactly.
and I think that a lot is there to be said about when altcoins come out and they do get a lot of money and they do get that new money and a lot of times it's people looking for that quick dollar. They're
Quick
trying
buck,
to make
yes.
that. They're trying to go for that second Bitcoin that goes up to 17K or whatever,
Exactly.
and that sort of thinking is what drives people to essentially terrible investments because if you're thinking on a long term scale, you'll realize quickly that Bitcoin is the correct place to place
Exactly.
your money.
And for to have the mindset of holding an alt for a short amount of time, it's just irresponsible. I mean, just like Bitcoin is in it for the long run, and for just a pleb to just throw some money in XRP, like that is just you know
Yeah,
that's
yeah,
a loss right there.
yeah, and
And
I
or go ahead.
yeah, and
What
I,
were you
I
gonna
was
say?
just saying, I think a lot of if you look at like um, I wouldn't consider myself a Bitcoin maximalist because I do believe that other
Yes.
cryptocurrencies have their use cases. But I just think if you look in terms of like traction on a global level, nothing quite has the same name that Bitcoin does. A lot of people even just assume that all cryptocurrencies are Bitcoin. So there's a lot of it's easily the most recognizable, and I think household name power has a lot of weight to it. So
Exactly.
yes,
And how will another cryptocurrency gain as much attention as Bitcoin has in the past 12 years? It's gonna be very difficult to replicate.
yeah,
All right, we could move on to. I wrote down a couple of questions.
yes.
Talk about the halvening. We could talk about
Let's talk about the
gold.
happening. Let's do that.
We could talk about the halvening, and then maybe we could talk
Um,
about gold a little later.
yeah, let's do both. So the happening. So um, why why is it important, Jack? If you just want to explain really simply, why is it important that the
Just
amount of Bitcoin that is mined is continually going down?
so I'm pulling up a web browser right now just to see. I forget the numbers, but because I forget kind of how much Bitcoin is being
Right,
mined. So
right.
I'm just kind of
And so, for anyone who doesn't know, the halving is essentially a reduction in the amount of bitcoins or Bitcoin that is rewarded upon completion of a hash by a miner.
okay.
So,
So I mean, just a rough overview. So I mean, Bitcoin created in 2008. Didn't really start till 2011. So in 2011, um, well, let's just start here. I mean, mining, essentially every 10 minutes, the network of computers, every 10 minutes they create a block, right? And these blocks have Bitcoin in them.
yes,
So in 2011, the first halvening. So there's only been I believe we're on the fourth or the third. We've experienced the third halvening, but we're on the fourth. we're on the fourth phase. So you got the first phase, you got 50 new Bitcoin created every 10 minutes. So that's a pretty decent amount. And there was 10,500,000 created from January 3rd, 2009 to November 28th, 2012. So just in that itself, that is almost about half
Yep. Yep.
of all Bitcoin created in about 4 years. So I
Yes.
mean, that is a ridiculous time.
And it
I mean,
flew under the
obviously
noses
it'll
of
never happen again.
everyone. Yep.
Did. Obviously because of the low market cap and the low attention it had.
Yep.
So, approximately every 4 years, Satoshi created a halvening event for the block sized and Bitcoin to be halved exactly. So, just how in 2009 to 2012 there was 50 created every 10 minutes. From 2012 to 2016 there was only 25. And
Yep.
as these events happen, this event is literally happens in a second. It is a flip of a switch. It is written in the code for it to happen. It is
Hmm.
so if you're mining, you literally are half your like if you're profiting, your profits are literally cut in two
Yep. And
because of
that
the halving.
reduces your inclination to sell as well.
Exactly. So um, you know, people are immediately becoming less profitable, so these miners are holding the Bitcoin that they created for a little bit longer, making it even more scarce and even more difficult to acquire.
Yep.
So then we got 2016 to 2020, because the recent halvening was about May 2020. Quick little guess, I think May 2020. So about July 2016 to May 2020. After 25, it went down to 12.5, and then uh, right now actually, we're at 6.25 every 10 minutes. So to go from 50 every 10 minutes to 6.25, we've definitely see the price, agree with the amount of Bitcoin created every 10 minutes. I guess you could say that it agrees with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I think uh, the happening when it's interesting how the price seems to lag behind it a little bit. Um,
Yeah,
and so I think that's interesting because it's almost like you can predictably show what may or may not happen in the future with the price based off of that, you know?
yeah,
So I think it's really interesting how people utilize essentially the stock to flow model as their basis for their Bitcoin investment. Because uh, um, yeah, so essentially the stock to flow model, it shows the happenings on it, and it's a model depicting the amount of incoming Bitcoin, the flow, versus
yes,
the amount existing out there, stock. And essentially the chart really hasn't deviated that far ever. And it's had
yeah,
its moment, but so far the chart's held strong relative, and it's still holding strong, especially with the recent price changes. And so
yeah.
the happenings on this chart are very distinct, and it's very easy to tell when they happen.
Yeah. Yeah. Stock to flows. It's a great thing to look at. It's very argued in the crypto community as if it's accurate or not. But it doesn't hurt to take a look at it. Not every chart is right, but all of them are wrong. But some of them kind of give you a general idea of what's going on. But
Yes.
I'd like to bring up a common misconception about the halvening is
Uh
that
huh.
I mean a lot of the dumb money are just people who are uneducated in general. They have a common misconception that the halvening is priced in already. So let's say
Yes.
next halvening in 2024 approximately. Let's say it happens in January 2024, right? Let's say it's the an exact year before that day, so January 2023. Um, it's gonna happen again. I mean, people are gonna say that the next happening is already priced in, maybe due to this next bull market.
Yeah,
But
it's not
it
true.
isn't. It's not true at all because I mean, essentially, at the moment of when you think it's already priced in, the miners aren't mining the way that you think they are. They're mining the
Yes.
exact same way until the exact second that the halvening switches over. So everyone is already used to this flow of Bitcoin that's coming in. So no one is able to really see what will happen when half of
Uh-huh.
Bitcoin being made every 10 minutes happens. So no one really is like understands what's going to happen when that. So it really only shows in price action afterwards. I think
Mm-hmm.
pretty
Mm-hmm.
interesting.
All right. So after talking about the halvening, I believe that's all the time we have for tonight. Uh, I think next time we should get in on gold and a couple other interesting topics that we have quite a
Yes,
few insights on.
I do like interesting topics.
Yes.
Maybe some crypto news, maybe some price updates, but
Yeah. Who
yes,
knows what the
hopefully
prices will be by then?
as of right now, let's just get a quick timestamp. Let's just go.
Yeah. It's always good to get the historical timestamp of
Yeah,
Bitcoin price because
nice
who
and
knows what it could be
fun.
tomorrow.
BTC 18.3, Ethereum 615, XRP 61,
Wow.
Chainlink 1560. Alright, and
Man,
that's
those
Cardano 16 cents. So that's a quick.
XRP and ETH today, those are interesting. 600
I
plus.
yeah, I do think
Yeah.
XRP is quite ridiculous.
Right? Like that's an
Yes,
investment right there.
maybe we could discuss some more concerning, or not concerning, but more oh, what's the word there? The word that not
Imperative.
everyone agrees. What's the word where
Oh,
people
controversial.
controversial? Yes,
Controversial.
I don't know how I didn't think of that. Maybe we could have an episode of the controversial, maybe
Yes,
Bitcoin Cash, maybe
XRP.
XRP, maybe
Yeah.
Litecoin, maybe Binance Coin. So who knows?
All right, let
Who
us know
knows?
what you think in
Let's
the
do.
comments.